Simmsisms. Full-fledged.
Right? We're not going to see a full-fledged like concerted effort to get everybody out there. They're locked in.
You saved yourself. Fledged.
Fledged, I know. I couldn't get out what the I wanted to say there.
Simmsisms.
This is a full-fledged episode of the PFTPM Chris Simms Unbuttoned Joint Mega Picks podcast. We will go over every game to be played this weekend. There are only 6, so we can talk really
right. Well,
slowly.
we need to start off with a full-fledged response on you can't read today, you can't host the show today, you can't read the rundown. This is the second time we had to do the opening because you did an ad read for somebody that doesn't sponsor the damn show anymore, and you didn't even know. I mean, damn, if you were a quarterback, they'd already benched you. Then, in fact, they'd have made you third string. They might have actually just cut you and been like, let's just move on. We get the Mike Florio era is over. Let's go, man.
So it would have been like
your game
it
up.
would have
Let's
been
go.
like first of all, 1, go yourself.
Okay.
2,
Boom.
go yourself. 3,
Yeah.
is it like the video of the coach, and I can't remember who it was, that was trying to get the quarterback, and I can't remember who he was.
Right.
Tall
right.
fellow.
Yeah.
Trying to spit out the play, and he just couldn't do it. Is it kind of like that today?
It is. Well, 1, go yourself. 2, okay, go yourself. And 3, yes, it was like that, okay? Yeah, couldn't speak, couldn't spit it out. All right, yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up. Not only that do I have to see that damn video, like, 50 times a year, right? I have people that still send it to me like they've never seen it before, and like I've never seen it before, which is like crazy, right? Or I have the people who, when I criticize a quarterback, they post that video on social media and go, this is the guy that's criticizing our quarterback. Yeah, like my third day in training camp when I'm 23 years old, just saying the hardest playbook in the history of mankind in the NFL, and yes, I butchered a play badly.
In my defense, I've only ever done that twice. It's everybody else that does it all the other time.
Okay.
And look, yeah, it's Gruden. And he's up your ass, and it's funny, but you're right. People see it for the first time, and they just assume you've never seen it, even though it's 20
Right.
years old.
Right.
Okay. So we do have time to kill today.
Well, wait, hold on. We got some comments
show
here.
is-
You gotta. You can't read
I
it.
was trying to get to them.
It's fine
I was trying to
print.
get to them, mother. I'm trying to get to them.
Can you read
all
that?
right?
Read that for me. Read
Yes. The first comment says, Chris Simms, go yourself. You guys need to do this every year till Florio leaves Earth. It's too entertaining of a product. The response to that is Florio will only leave Earth when the Vikings win the Super Bowl, which means that Florio will live as long as Nosferatu. That's funny. That's funny. Here's
good.
one thing I'll tell you. I won't do this until I leave Earth. And you never know when the day is going to come that I'm just done. You never know when it's going to be. I'm not going to do the whole Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, will I or won't I. I'm just going to be done one day. And that's going to be it. And people are probably going to shit their pants when it happens. But I'm just going to be done. Just fair warning. When you least expect it, expect it. I'm not gonna do this till I die.
All right,
but
we'll
you never
see.
know when I'm done.
We'll
you never
see.
know when I'm going to be done.
I think you're like
it will come without warning.
You're like a crack fiend, okay? I think you're addicted to this. I think the only way you're done is like if you're on the deathbed and you can't type anymore. That's the only way you're done. I'll call your bluff. I'll see you here when you're 70,
okay.
And the Vikings still wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, so we'll be here.
All I'm saying is there will be no build-up. There will be no countdown. There will be no it's his last season. I'm just going to be done.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be it. And if I die before then, yeah, I can't control that. But when I'm done, I'm going to be done. And
I get you there. So you don't want us to have like a parade for you or
no.
An everyday countdown clock. Like he's about to retire in 4 days and 74 hours.
Yeah. No. I don't need any of that. I'll be like a cat. You know, a cat doesn't die, it just disappears. I'll just disappear. You won't even know. It's just going to be like, where'd he go? I don't know. He must have retired.
Yeah.
I won't even announce it. I'll just be gone because I won't give a at that point. I don't give a now. Maybe I should do it today. All right. Last week, Chris got both of the straight-up disagreements, so the lead is down to 1. But oh, my God. a lion ate Chris, and he's sticking his face out of the mouth. He's saying, please come save me. I did win the regular season contest, and I, as far as I'm concerned, do close the book at least partially at the end of the regular season. 1 game edge over Christopher, who was right about the Jets over the Dolphins and the Lions over the Vikings.
What are you, Jim Irsay? Hang a banner. We're in the upper quartile
That's right.
of the upper quartile.
That's right.
That's right.
Right.
We'll send your blue ribbon in the mail. It ain't over yet.
Good.
There, buddy. Don't you worry. You're going to lose 2 out of 3 of those columns when it's all said and done. I'm coming.
Right, because the other one, I'm still up 12 games with 13 postseason games left. So I have a feeling I'm safe in the against the spread category, although lately you've been chipping away at it a little bit. And best bets, I'm on a heater, baby. I'm 6-0. The problem is you're only 4-2, so I still have a lot of ground to make up to catch you there, and there aren't many opportunities left to do it. I conceded that one a while ago. I don't know. Maybe we got to stop the count. Maybe we got to start the count again.
Yeah. All right. Let's discuss 2 things because we haven't discussed this, and let's keep it real for our audience here. We're going to do 2 best bets for the weekend. Is that what we're doing here? Right.
I think we should do 6.
Well, we usually had done 2. Okay, so Pete's saying we're going to do 2. That sounds good. The other part is, like, I think that Lion's trying to throw me back up because he's like, are you kidding me? That's disgusting. What is this big, blonde, dumb New Jersey guy here in my belly? I can't throw him up. I think that's what that is.
he's trying to, yeah. The Lion has decided that this does not sit
This
well.
doesn't good. There's too much THC in this meat here. I don't like this. It's making me feel funny.
That's good.
All right. Other thing is that I want to bring up with you because we have fun. And this is a great weekend, right? This is my second favorite weekend of the year. Second favorite weekend of the year. And I think even more second favorite-ish now, clearly in lock, just because we do have the college football playoff tonight and tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I mean, you're going to tune in and watch Notre Dame, Penn State, right? You're going to tune in and watch that tonight in the Orange Bowl, right? It's special.
Yeah, I was thinking about going to the barn last night, and my son reminded me that the Notre Dame, Penn State game is tonight, and I should just go tonight instead. And I could have gone both, but I wanted to go have a cigar, and I'm trying to limit myself to 2 a week.
Yeah.
So tonight's the night I'm going to go down, have a cigar, watch the game, and kick back, and hopefully it'll be a good one.
Yeah, hopefully it will be. I would expect it to be. And then I'm off to Dallas, Texas this afternoon because I am going to go see Texas and Ohio State. So I hope,
unless they shut the entire state down because one snowflake is flying in Dallas.
Well, it can happen down there. I went to school there and experienced that a few times where, a kid from the Northeast was a little shocked. I was like, what is flooring out? And the city shut down. But it sounds like it's on schedule. But you will watch that Friday night too, right? Will you get in the barn and watch that, a little Texas, Ohio State?
I don't know if I'll go to the barn because Friday night, because on weekends when I travel, I try to spend time with my wife, and I don't know that she's going to be interested in watching Texas and Ohio State unless I tell her Matthew McConaughey is going to be on the sidelines. Then maybe she'll want to.
Well, yeah, and tell her you might see me in the crowd, and tell her that you might see me giving the middle finger, and it's to you, and then maybe that'll get her to watch. I'll just be like, hey, Jill, try to spot me. Where's Waldo, Chris Simms edition? I'm giving the middle finger to your husband. I think she'll enjoy that.
If you realize you're on camera, if you become aware that you're on camera during the game, will you go double bird?
No, I'll probably go Longhorn, right? I'll probably do something like that. I'll be a total wimp.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do reverse Longhorn, double barrel. You'll know what I mean.
Right.
Yet I won't, disgruntle a bunch of people there and give my school a little respect.
It's so weird in the southern states and cities when it snows a half inch. It's like the aliens have landed. So hopefully Dallas will deal with the fact that the snowfall there isn't going to be what they expected. There's not going to be ice. I think it'll be fine. But again, it's like they've never experienced it before when it's just a tiny little amount. Meanwhile, I got 12 inches outside that hasn't even begun to melt yet because it's still sub-freezing.
One more question, just for fun, because we're all here and we love football. What is the best national championship matchup, right? We're almost the good thing. ESPN and ABC must be thrilled because you really are guaranteed. It's the blue bloods right here, 4 college teams that are deep in history. You can't really go wrong with any such matchup, right? Of course, I favor Notre Dame and Texas. That to me would be what I would want. But what to you, like when I say best matchup out of these 4 teams, what popped into your head right away when you heard that?
Ohio State and Penn State, because I'm sandwiched between both of them. And there's, a history there with West Virginia and Penn State.
Yeah.
Ohio State and West Virginia have only played a handful of times since I've been around. But I went to the first Penn State-Ohio State game in Columbus when Penn State joined the Big Ten in 1993. And it was one of those days where it was cold, but it wasn't freezing. But you didn't prepare for it because it wasn't freezing, so you froze.
Yeah.
Because you weren't ready for a day that it was that cold. And I remember my feet being so freaking cold and constantly watching the clock for the game to end so I could get the hell out of there. That's how cold I was. That's my big memory. I don't even remember who won. I assume Ohio State did. But it was Ohio State, Penn State, October, November-ish of 1993. So that would be cool if it's Ohio State, Penn State, all Big Ten championship.
That's the one I least want to see. I least want to see that.
Any combination works.
Right.
Any combination works.
Yeah, they do. They all work. That'd be the one I least want to just see just because we saw it not too long ago. We see it every year. It still would be cool. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, you can't go wrong. We'll see where it goes. I'm rooting for Notre Dame, Texas. That's what I would love to see.
All right. The Saturday playoff games. Let's get rolling.
Let's
Late
go.
afternoon. It's the Chargers at the Texans. Jim Harbaugh has taken his team to the postseason in his first year with the team, just like he did with the 49ers back in 2011. They are favored by 3 on the road against the Texans. We've just kind of generally accepted over the second half of the season that the Texans will win the worst division in football, and then that will be the end of it. They do take some motivation in the fact that they're being overlooked and disregarded again. They were underdogs last year, and they beat the Browns 45-14. Do you give the Texans a realistic chance to do it again this year against Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, and company?
I do give them a realistic chance. I do. There's certainly ways they can win this football game. Let me start here. The first thing I would say on the offensive side of the ball, and this is where I think it's imperative with Houston. They got to be able to run the football with a little success, right? I know everybody wants to run the ball with a little success, but hear me out here. You're going to understand what I'm saying. This is a football team that it's well addressed. The passing game is less than. There's no Tank Dell. There's no Stephon Diggs, right? There's injuries there. The pass protection is some of the worst in football. The interior offensive line is some of the worst pass protectors in all of football. They like to run play action pass. That's their number one avenue of trying to throw the football. And you've heard me say within that, those are long developing plays, right? So pass protection is tougher on that type of play, holding your ground for let's let Nico Collins run a deep post corner route that's going to take 4.5 seconds for him to get where he needs to go. So why I say they need to run the ball is, one, to slow down the pass rush a little bit of this Chargers football team. They still got Bosa. They still got Khalil Mack on the edge, okay? The other aspect of that is I don't think that the Texans' passing game is good enough to just stand on its own. You've heard me say it's too many 2-man routes, 3-man routes. I wish they would get to the quick drop passing game a little bit more. But you also know the Chargers are unbelievable in pass defense. And they will play pass defense until you truly bluff them, force their hand, and then they finally go, we're being bludgeoned in the run game. Okay, fine, we'll put one more safety in the box. But if they don't do that, and if they feel like they can manage the run game a little bit with Joe Mixon without the safety, it's going to be tough sledding for the Texans offense to find any plays of more than 10 yards or get people open. And that's my first thought, at least on that side of the matchup, Mike.
Yeah, and look, I've been frustrated all year with how the Texans offense has operated. I feel like they haven't taken full advantage of Joe Mixon. Maybe they were trying to save him for the postseason because he's an older running back. He got banged up early in the year. Remember, he had that hip drop tackle early on that caused him to miss some time. But when he's clicking, and there's been games where, it's like 1.4 yards per carry, but when he's clicking, I think it makes it easier for the offense. They've had those injuries and lost key guys, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, but Nico Collins is back. Nico Collins is healthy, and this is a game where you run to set up the pass. You don't pass to set up the run. That's the only way the Texans have a chance to have an offense that ultimately is successful against the Chargers defense, and it's going to be a struggle because the Chargers have always had, or at least in recent years, have had talented players. They just needed somebody to get the most out of them, and that's what Jim Harbaugh has managed to do. Jesse Minter. I don't think his name's come up yet for a head coaching interview.
No.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
No one's requested him yet, but maybe they will next week. I don't know. But, I think that this is going to require full focus of the Texans, full commitment from the Texans to coming up with a game plan to win this game. Not our system, not what we'd like to do in a perfect world on a perfect day, but whatever it takes to win this game. And Bobby Slowick, who, slipped off of the A-list this year because the offense has been, by all accounts, mismanaged. This is his chance to kind of rectify it and to match what they did last year. If they don't win on Saturday at home, they will have failed to match what they did last year. This was a year we expected them to take a step up. It'll be a step back. And I don't rule out the Texans pulling this off because records go out the window. Everything goes out the window. All that matters at this point forward is the number before your name that indicates where you are on the playoff tree. That's all that matters, and that determines who hosts.
Right.
Everything else is irrelevant. They're the 4 seed, period. And the Chargers are the 5 seed. So they get dibs on the home game. And, that playoffs are hard. Playoffs are hard to pick because you never know who's going to step up and you never know who's going to step off. And last year in this round, the Texans did, and that counts for something.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And your point about Mixon's real. If there's a weakness of that Chargers defense, it's their interior part of their D-line. There's no household names there at D-tackle there in Los Angeles. So that's why it'll be important to see if they can take advantage of that because, like I said, the Chargers' pass defense is one of the best in football. You flip it around, right? This is a Houston Texans defense that's got talent. Right, Kwame Lassiter, a good corner on the other side of Derek Stingley. Who Derek Stingley is one of the best corners in football. So they can play some man-to-man. They're rooted in that Seattle 3 defense. We know that. But where they are different from your normal Seattle 3 type of defense is that they'll play more man-to-man than your normal Seattle scheme usually does. They got the great pass rushers on the outside. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are legit. The problem is that becomes a little bit squashed because the Chargers have 2 tackles on the outside that will need no help blocking them. They're not going to have to reconfigure the game plan and go, we got to help out Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt. So that's a positive for them. And then here it gets into the Seattle scheme part of it, Mike, too. This is where I give the Chargers a little advantage. And, things aren't always game plan specific with this Seattle scheme stuff. And I think guys like Harbaugh and Roman, what the heck's his first name? Greg Roman.
Greg Roman.
Thank you. They're going to, I feel like, have a few plays because of the predictability. And they usually have some good, I've never seen them do this game plan type of plays early on in football games. I think because of that stagnant approach by the Texans defense, I favor the Chargers in this matchup. I do. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think it's going to be a close football game. I do. But I think Harbaugh, playoff football, right? The way they've been playing, Justin Herbert and Quentin Johnson got going a little bit at the end of the year, especially last week. And we know Ladd McConkey's there. I'm going to go Chargers 24-17.
Oh, almost a bingo bango. I have 23-16 Chargers. One of the keys here is the health of J.K. Dobbins. He was limited in practice each of the last 2 days with an ankle injury. Gus Edwards, the number 2 running back for the Chargers, also limited with an ankle. Quentin Johnston was limited on Tuesday, didn't practice at all on Wednesday. Thigh and illness yesterday. And Johnston is going to be one of the keys here, too, because the fundamental question with him is, will he catch the football when it's thrown his way? That's clearly the biggest need for the Chargers in the offseason. Enhancing the receiving core. They've got franchise quarterback. They've got solid running backs. Their team is on the upswing. They need to get a game-breaking, commands double coverage everywhere he goes, opens up everything for Ladd McConkey, who's been a great player as a rookie. But Quentin Johnston at some point is going to have to make a big catch in a big spot. We always talk about quarterback have to make a big throw in a big spot. Johnston's going to have to make a big catch in a big spot if the Chargers are going to push this thing beyond the wild card round and have a chance to win in the divisional round.
Yeah, I agreed with that. And we'll see. He got what did he have last week? 10 for 170 or something like that? It felt like it was a game of let's get him feeling good and vibes going in a real positive way here so we can go into the playoffs and he can have that confidence. Hopefully he plays like that on Saturday for the Chargers' sake.
I can imagine Jim Harbaugh saying to Quentin Johnston, I remember being born, and I also remember you weren't my doctor because if you were, you would have dropped me onto the floor. Okay, the Steelers at the Ravens. The Ravens in the rubber match between AFC North rivals are 9.5-point favorites. It was 8.5. It went to 10. It's now 9.5 with an over-under of 43.5. It's the biggest spread of Wild Card Weekend. I am 13-4 straight up, 9-7-1 against the spread, involving my second favorite team this season. They are limping into the playoffs with 4 straight losses. A loss on Saturday night would obviously result in 5 in a row to end the season. This is a big game. And, Chris, I may have said this earlier. I don't know if I said it during a break or on the air. I'm going to be paying close attention to whichever team loses this game on Saturday night, because there's at least a possibility of something going down with either head coach of the team that loses. Last year, there was talk about maybe Mike Tomlin ready to move on, and they loaded it up for one more year or more. Maybe it was just one more year if they can't win in the playoffs again. With John Harbaugh, there's always, not always, but every 2 or 3 years, there's this sense, is it finally coming to an end? They go one and done at home, losing to the Steelers in such a promising season when Lamar Jackson's the likely MVP. Who knows? Who knows? Just whoever loses this game is going to be in disarray. That raises the stakes, despite the spread, because the Steelers could still win this. That's where I struggle. You get these two teams in a street fight, I don't care about the spread. The Steelers could pull off the victory.
I don't disagree. I mean, it's, to me, probably the worst matchup for the Ravens, or the one they least likely wanted to see because of the things you said. They're familiar with them. They know how they operate. They're not in awe or in shock of Lamar Jackson. They've been on the field and seen that and been a part of that experience before. So all of that stuff, they know some of the tricks of what Baltimore does on defense and how John Harbaugh operates in certain situations and all that. That's why you don't like it if you're the Ravens. Certainly not. Let alone, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary. They got guys we know on the edge, Herbig, of course, T.J. Watt, Highsmith, who can make game-changing plays. They're the type of guys that can sneak up on Lamar and strip sack, fumble him, or tip a ball in the air like Cam Hayward does so much, and the ball pops up in the air, interception. We saw him do that last week against Joe Burrow. So that's what's scary about the Steelers, is they have that playmaking renegade-type style on the defensive side of the ball. The other part of it is that it's still not a Ravens awesome defense, right? It's been a lot better, but we also saw Pittsburgh wasn't shut down by them by the last matchup. Again, let's not forget, Russell Wilson fumbled on the 3-yard line going into score, and they were about to go up 14-7. It was a 14-point swing because then Baltimore went down on a 96-yard drive and scored a touchdown to go up 14-7. That was a big part of the game. And there was no George Pickens in that game. I watched back the film of that game earlier this week, and the one thing that jumped out to me, too, is Russell Wilson's got to be able to attack the middle of the field. There's plays there to be had in the middle of the field, but the middle of the field's been a kryptonite for Russell Wilson his whole career because he's short and he's reluctant to pull the trigger and throw the ball into the windows down in the middle of the field, which can be tighter. He's going to have to do that. Freiermuth versus Roquan Smith is advantage Steelers in the pass game all day long. They got to take advantage of that. So that's going to be the big thing. Can the Steelers offense make enough plays to keep pace with Lamar and company, which we know you got to keep pace with them to a degree? And can the defense make a play or two and give the Steelers offense an extra possession or so, like we saw in the first matchup and where the Steelers pulled off the upset in that one? That, to me, is paramount. The Steelers are a team where I don't think if the game is straight up that they can just win the football game. They have to create something. A strip sack, interception, block punt, whatever it might be. So that's my thoughts there. Do you want to make your pick? Do you want to say anything more here?
Well, no, I look at it very simply. The Steelers have a knack for making, in the games they win,
right,
the big games they win.
Yeah.
There'll be a special teams play.
That's right.
There'll be a turnover.
Right.
There'll be something where they just rise to the occasion and bend reality in their favor. And we see it time and again. And the thing that fascinates me, we talked about this a little bit during PFT Live today when we did the underdog quarterback confidence draft. Russell Wilson has a history of thriving in the postseason. Lamar Jackson has a history of failing in the postseason. And when Lamar Jackson tries to talk his way out of his history, he only puts more pressure on himself. When he comes out and says, I feel more nervous, I feel more antsy in the postseason, but I'm past that now. No, you're not. No, you're not, because when you go out there for the first drive of a game that is win or go home, when you're favored by 9.5 points, you will feel the pressure. Oh, yes, you will. Now, how will you deal with it? That remains to be seen. But the pressure only increases until you change the narrative. The pressure on you arising from the existing narrative only gets stronger and stronger. That's where I'm torn on this, because I could see Russell Wilson not fumbling at the 3-yard line, not throwing a pick six to Marlon Humphrey.
Right.
I could see Lamar Jackson, something screwy happening there, and missed field goal by Justin Tucker. I just think, and this reminds me, and I think we said this earlier in the week as well, when Dan Campbell said to Kevin O'Connor after the Sunday night game, maybe we'll see you in a couple weeks, the pressure's all going to be on the Lions if there's a rematch there. The pressure's all on the Ravens. At home, 9.5-point favorites, 34-17, a misleading final score. It was 17 all late in the second half. I'm not ready to pick the Steelers. I can't do it. I thought about it. I can't do it. I'm going to split the baby here. 27-23, although I think if the Ravens win, they'll cover. And if the Steelers cover, they'll win. I'm taking one or the other here. Ravens win, Steelers cover, because I really couldn't go all in with one or the other.
Yeah, all right. Well, it just sounds like you're a chicken, but that's expected. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to whoop that ass. I do. The Steelers are done. 4 in a row. They got their ass whooped 3 weeks in a row, and then, put up a fight against the Bengals, who have one of the worst defenses in football, and they did make a few plays, right? I didn't like the look of how Pittsburgh's defense just got absolutely ran over by Derrick Henry the first time. Lamar made a uncharacteristic interception in the red zone because Rashad Bateman stopped. I'm going to say I'm like with what your first thought was. I think the Ravens are going to come out on fire here. I think it's going to be the kind of game where it's like 35-7, and the Steelers are going to maybe score 2 later touchdowns to make it look respectable. I'm going to go 35-20 Ravens.
Okay, first of all, can we clip what he said at the beginning about the Ravens are going to whoop that ass and the Steelers are done, and post it with @Coach Tomlin? Can you please do that? Second of all, if that happens, is @Coach Tomlin gone next year? If they get blown out by the Ravens to cap a 5-game losing streak, extend a postseason winless streak that dates back to 2016, is he back?
It'll be dicey. It'll be definitely dicey. I think like you said, I kind of agree with your thought. If Harbaugh and them get upset here, I think it could be trouble because they just haven't reached the potential of this football team. And, if Tomlin and company lose like that, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are calling for his head in a big way. Man, I don't know what will happen there. That's going to be crazy, actually, if you think about it. It really is.
High-stakes game.
Yeah.
High-stakes game
Yeah.
between two bitter rivals, worth your time and effort to watch it on Amazon Prime on Saturday night. When we return, the Sunday games for the wild card round, including the playoff debut of Heisman Trophy winner and future Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. That's next on PFTPM and Chris Simms Unbuttoned. DraftKings Sportsbook is the number one place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code PFTLive when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours as always. Please bet responsibly, only with money that you can afford to lose, because if you listen to me, you will. Welcome back to PFTPM and Chris Simms Unbuttoned, joint Mega Picks podcast. Wild Card Picks, FKA Super Wild Card Weekend Picks, RIPIP Super Wild Card Weekend. Here we go. Sunday games. Broncos at the Bills. Broncos, the 7th seed, beating the Chiefs B team last week to earn their spot in the playoffs. First time to the postseason for the Broncos since winning Super Bowl 50. Buffalo Bills, the number 2 seed, 8.5-point favorites. Denver is 12.5 against the spread this year. That's tied with the Chargers and the Lions for the best in the NFL. Do they cover? Do they win?
It's an interesting game, right? I could see the game being like kind of feast or famine a little bit, right? There's so aspects of where I'm scared for Buffalo a little bit. Here's the first thing. Buffalo's offense, yes. I mean, the Denver defense is good. They got the best corner in football, not even close, in Pat Surtain, right? The other guy, Riley Moss, is damn good too. The safety play is good. So they got some playmakers in the back end, let alone Vance Joseph is creative, and he can be aggressive. Sometimes it's good aggressive, sometimes it's a little overly aggressive. The other thing they have working in their favor is they have two guys on the edge, and Nick Bonito and Cooper, right, who can run down or contain Josh Allen. I don't think this is a game where he's going to be able to run out of the pocket and then sit there for 3 or 4 seconds and wait for somebody to come open. These guys can go. So I think they will force the issue on Josh Allen a little bit in those situations to where he might not be able to make as much magic as he always does, right? But I do worry about Denver being overly aggressive on defense. And if you are overly aggressive and blitz a little too much and play a little too much man-to-man, this is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've seen in the history of football. He is going to burn you. He will. So they got to find the right way there. The other part, and I'm a little bit like the Houston game here, Buffalo's kryptonite is a team that can run the ball. When you can run the ball, it really puts McDermott in a bind. They're not real big up front. We've seen teams dominate them up front. You know a team knows they're not that good at stopping the run when they tell people like Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth when they play the 49ers, well, they might run for 200 yards on us tonight. Like, the what? That just tells you that they don't think they're worth a damn there. Now, Denver is not a very good running football team. And why I say this is if they can run a little bit, it'll force McDermott into some defenses he doesn't like to play. But if they can run, McDermott's then is going to be crazy zones and people all over the place, and that versus a rookie quarterback up in Buffalo, loud crowd, all that can be an issue. So those are kind of my plus and minuses of both sides of the football, let alone you have the Sean Payton factor of playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. They've already won the year, and he is the king of coming up with you plays and big moments, and that's what you got to worry about if you're the Buffalo Bills too.
I alluded to this earlier as it relates to a possible Broncos-Chiefs division round game, but I could see Peyton behind closed doors making it clear to his guys, hey, they wanted us in the playoff field. They didn't want the Bengals. They think that we're just patsies. They think that they can run all over us. They think that we're just happy to be here. And Peyton's been around long enough to know how to push his guys' buttons. The question is, can he get Bo Nix ready to perform at a high level in a hostile environment, as you were saying? Can they whip up a game plan that will exploit the weaknesses in the Buffalo defense? Will they commit to the run? They've got the three-headed monster approach.
They got to commit.
Will they maybe go with a hot hand?
Yeah.
Right? And slow the game down.
Right.
Keep
right.
Josh Allen on the sideline
right.
drinking Gatorade, as you say.
Yeah.
So he's more desperate when he comes out. I think that's going to be a key for the Denver offense. Patience and run the ball and have those you plays, as you said, ready to go at the right time. Just at the right, when you feel like they're on their heels a little bit, punch them through the ropes.
Right.
Then when you flip it over, hey, you know what? I picked up on this in 2019. The Bills keep Josh Allen healthy during the regular season, running the ball. They don't have him do it. Postseason, you got to be willing to throw caution to the wind and unleash him as a weapon if you want to advance. They may not think they have to do it with the Broncos as the opponent, but they better be ready to do it because they may need him to make the difference, because I think this game is going to be closer than the spread. I got Bills 30, Broncos 23. I won't be surprised if the Broncos go in there and beat them. I won't be surprised at all, because I think the Bills are thinking so much about Ravens, Chiefs. They might trip and fall over the game that they're not thinking about as they're waiting for the Ravens to come down, especially if the Ravens win on Saturday night, and they know it's going to be the Ravens coming to town next week. They could trip up, and they could lose to the Broncos.
Hey, it's scary. I think I made some of the points of why it's scary. I agree with the points that you made why it could be scary, right? I'm still going to play the fact of I think they're a little too aggressive on defense, and this is Josh Allen and one of the better offensive units he's ever had around him in his career. And I'm also going to play a little bit of, the rookie quarterback in this environment ain't going to be as ready as he might think he's going to be ready. I'm going to go the opposite of you here. I'm going Broncos. I'm going Bills, and I'm going to have them dominate. I'm going to have them kind of pull away. I could see it like 20, 21-20, whatever, but then I think the Bills pull away late and the Broncos can't keep up pace. I'm going to go 38-21 Buffalo Bills.
Man, these games are going to suck if you're right. I'm trying to will them to be competitive. I don't want them to be like the college football playoffs. I want the wild card weekend to be super. I don't want it to be lopsided. All right, the 4:30 p.m. Eastern game on Sunday afternoon. The one thing I'm certain of is that during that game, we will find out what the Cowboys are doing about Mike McCarthy. That's the one thing you can take to the bank. If they have odds at DraftKings, go bet that is the window. 4:30 to 7:30, maybe extended to 8 o'clock. That's when we're going to find out about McCarthy. The Packers are 4.5-point underdogs per DraftKings. 89% of the spread money is on the Eagles, over-under of 45.5. Go back and watch PFT Live today if you missed it for an in-depth discussion of the health of the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts practiced on Wednesday, trending toward playing. Jordan Love limited on Wednesday, elbow injury. Took a day for feeling to come back in his hand, and we broke down his press conference in front of the locker where it sure looks like he doesn't want to talk about it because he's concerned that he's not going to be able to cut it loose. I don't know what that means. What does it mean to cut it loose? Whatever it means, he may not be able to do it. Chris, who do you have in this one?
Yeah, this is a good one. The quarterback issue is real, right off the bat. I mean, there's no question about that. And I think the thing that, you get into with Green Bay specifically, and you've heard me say this a million times, I think they're one of the few teams that can stand toe-to-toe with the physically best teams in football. Whether that's the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, whoever, the Ravens, they're not going to be outclassed. Their O-line is phenomenal. Their D-line is damn good. I mean, this is a Packers team here that's at 11-6, and it's the number 5 defense in football and the number 5 offense in football. So it just speaks to it. Let alone, it's been a year where the quarterback, has not played all that great in Jordan Love. And, yeah, it worries me again that we're going into another week where it wasn't great last week. He got banged up. Yes, it didn't look good in the press conference, the way he was answering things, that he was confident he was going to be totally ready or 100%. It's for a guy that needs reps, and we saw weeks where he didn't get reps, he wasn't as good and sharp in the game. For them to hold him out of practice yesterday is a huge red flag. It's a huge shining beacon that there's worry there. There's no way they want to go into this game not having Jordan Love practice on Wednesday. No way. So that just tells you there's real concern. Can they run the ball on Philly's defense? I don't think they can. Can they scare Philly in the pass game? Because of no Christian Watson, Jaden Reed has fallen off a little bit, right? We talked about the quarterback play in general. I don't know if they can really expose Philadelphia in the pass game either. And then the opposite side of that is I do worry about Jalen Hurts and his ability to, be sharp because he hasn't practiced and done much here lately either. But they have other avenues they can rely on. And they're not necessarily the type of offense that needs sharp quarterback surgical play. He can hand the ball off, he can fake the read option or the quarterback design runs, and he can throw one-on-one balls up to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm taking the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the best team in football. 30-17, Philadelphia.
I have 28-23. I still have the Eagles covering, but just by a half point. I think the Eagles will overpower the Packers in this one. At home, the Packers need to do what the Broncos should do. Shorten the game, bang away with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Just bang and bang and bang away. Go with Malik Willis if there's any doubt about Jordan Love, although I don't think they will. I think Jordan Love will kind of force his way onto the field. But you're right. Just give the ball to Saquon Barkley. Just let your offense do its thing. Let it operate like it did all year long. But the home crowd, the game that they played in week 1 is meaningless. The Eagles won that one. It was close. It was a shootout, but it didn't mean anything. These teams were still figuring out who they were in September. The Eagles know who they are. The Eagles are good enough to win this game. And then they would set up hosting what? It would be the 3, 4,
It'd
or
be the
5
Bucks,
seed.
the Bucks or Washington
seed.
Maybe. Or, yeah, it could be something.
They
like
wouldn't
that.
get the 6th seed. They wouldn't
You're
get
right.
the 6th seed. They'd get
You're
3, 4, or 5. They'd get the Bucks. They'd get the Rams, or they'd get the Vikings in the divisional round. But I agree with you. I think the Eagles win. I think the Eagles advance.
Yeah, I we'll see. I think so too. Certainly, playing that place there, the Green Bay can't be going into the playoffs feeling great. especially in a game where they tried to win last week and played sloppy with turnovers, bad special teams, whatever you want to talk about, and then lose late in the game to the Bears. That's not the way you want to go into the playoffs. And, as much as I worry about Jalen Hurts, the rest of the Philadelphia team is going to be extremely fresh and frothing at the mouth. So I expect them to play damn good football.
All right, Sunday night, NBC and Peacock, after the Football Night in America pregame that begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, kickoff sometime around 8:15 or so. Commanders at the Buccaneers, another rematch of Week 1 on the same field where the Buccaneers won 37-20. And the biggest challenge for the Buccaneers is going to be to forget what happened in Week 1. Same team, same field, same uniforms, different commanders coming to town. A Jaden Daniels who is calm, who is relaxed, who is accomplished. And the Bucs, my big concern with them, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You never know when they're going to be Dr. Jekyll, and they're just not going to be awake. And then they turn into Mr. Hyde and they kick your ass and rip your throat out. And that's what the Bucs are capable of doing. When they're firing on all cylinders, they can beat anyone. They beat the Lions, for crying out loud, in their own building. They can beat anyone. My concern is they might stumble and fall right out of the gates with a Commanders team that has absolutely nothing to lose. This is ultimate house money. This is no one expected the Commanders to make the playoffs. No one envisioned that they'd have 12 wins. No one expects them to do anything. And that can be harnessed in a way. As I was saying earlier today, if Jaden Daniels is a guy who steps up to super duper hero in the postseason like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes have done, this is a game the Commanders could win.
Yeah, I agreed with that. I mean, certainly they can win it. I mean, you talked about Jaden Daniels, what he's been out there, the attitude of the team. Yeah, Washington's already won the season. They're nothing like the Week 1 team. They have a way great understanding of Dan Quinn's defense now. And, of course, Jaden Daniels, who told me a few weeks ago the most nervous he was all year was the Week 1 game against the Buccaneers. He's not going to be nervous like that again. He's played really, really good football, let alone I'm expecting a shootout here because you've heard me say it. The Buccaneers, unless they adjust their game plan and how they play on the defensive side of the ball, they just basically give you passes. They're just basically like, here's 10 yards over the middle. We're worried about you running up the middle, so here you go. Here's 10 yards. And they just do it too much. I know I'm being sarcastic and having fun, but I'm dead serious. It's like it's 5 and 6 guys at the line of scrimmage in situations and down at distances where you go, why? They're going to throw it here. I guarantee it. Like, what are you doing? And they don't run the ball that well anyway. So what are we playing this, like, overexerted run defense for? That's what I worry about. I do. That you've heard me say. They got Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea. They don't need too much extra help down there. Help out your secondary who's banged up and hasn't looked worth a shit in a few weeks. That's the big issue here. So I don't know if Todd Bowles going to adjust. He rarely does. In fact, he's only done it once in his whole life, and that was the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. So we'll see. But I expect the Commanders and Jaden Daniels to pick apart the Buccaneers defense. I do. The other side of the ball, though, unfortunately for the Commanders, is I expect the Buccaneers to do whatever they want on the Commanders defense. Whatever. Marshawn Lattimore playing will be a big deal, though. If they can have him match up against Mike Evans and then divulge some other guys to other areas on the defense, that could help them certainly. But, man, that D-line against the ass-kickers, Bucs O-line, I don't trust that. And then we know Baker, Evans, McMillan. I think Cade Otton's a good to go here for this game. We'll see. I think it was a limited participant. And then that running game with Bucky Irvin, I think we see a lot of points. I think we see a lot of back and forth. I'm going Buccaneers 38-34.
When you say divulge, did you mean deploy?
Maybe. Yes, I think so. I don't even know what I meant.
It's the right word. It's just not the word for what you intended.
Right.
Divulge is a word.
Yes,
divulge,
it is a word. It is.
Just wasn't exactly, Anyway, I'm really torn on this one. I want to pick the upset, but I've been a big proponent of the Buccaneers. I had them going to the NFC Championship game before the season. Nobody cares about our preseason predictions unless we're wrong and people want to rub it in our faces. But I think the Buccaneers are one of the teams in the NFC that could go to Philly and give them fits, could go to Detroit and win, because they already have this year, and they almost beat them in the divisional round last year. I still think the Buccaneers find a way to win this. I think it's going to be close, though, and I'm going to thread the needle. It's only a 3-point spread. I'm going to go 24-23, late field goal to win it by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Commanders, and it will be the kind of thing that even though the Commanders lose, it's the launch pad for next year. It's the sign and the signal to the rest of the league. Watch out. We belong. It's not a one-year fluke. It's not we're just happy to be here, we'll take our ass whipping and go home. I think they're going to give the Bucs everything they can handle, but we shall see. And you shall see if you tune into NBC, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, NBC and Peacock for Football Night in America, followed by Commanders at Buccaneers, a rematch of the game in which Chris Simms threw a football into the gun port of the ship 20 years ago, actually 19 years ago. But we'll see how it turns out this time around. When we return, rematch of a Week 8 game that saw the Vikings lose.
Here we go, Rams. Here we go.
You.
Here we go, Rams. Here we go.
Chris Simms Unbuttoned right after this.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code UNBUTTONED. Yes, promo code UNBUTTONED, not PFT. Unbuttoned is cooler when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
You did a nice job there. You were falling off the horse, and you pulled yourself back up twice.
Well
done.
Thank you.
It's fun. Well, I'll save it. I'll save it for a break. But
what?
Let's. No. I got something I want to say, but I'll just save it for when we're done.
Well, damn. I mean, poor audience. Like, what the hell? I'm speaking for the audience. What is that bullshit? You can't do that. You can't bring up something that sounds like it's going to be juicy and then chicken out. You can't do that.
Monday night. In L.A., unless the game is relocated to Arizona, the Vikings take on the Rams. Minnesota is favored by 1.5 points on the road, wherever the road might be. The Rams hosting the game wherever it might be, over under a 47.5. I am 14-3 straight up involving Vikings games and 12-4-1 against the spread, picking Minnesota games this season. I don't know what I'm going to do on this one. Actually, I do. I want to know what you're going to do before I tell you what I'm going to do.
No, well, you go first with the Vikings, so that's your team. Go ahead. I do wonder, like, were there going to be more Viking fans there if, the Fires weren't there, right? Does that affect the outside fan base, right? Because this is a stadium that we know in these type of games where it could be half the opposing team, half Rams fans. I have a hard time believing Minnesota fans are going to be like, let's go to the blazing infernos of California right now and watch a football game.
Well, and the question is Minnesota fans traveling versus Minnesota fans who live there who are going to come to the game. And, I think that I don't know anything other than the NFL has issued a couple of statements. I feel like this game's going to move to Arizona.
It feels like it.
Feels like it doesn't fit. At a minimum, it's a bad look to play the game on Monday night with everything that's going on. It's not like the Fires are going to be out. The Santa Ana winds have died down. They're going to pick up again. Regardless, wherever the game is played, we got to make the pick now. I think the Vikings, look, they're going to go one way or the other. They're completely going to fall apart after getting their asses kicked in Detroit, or they're going to use that as the motivation to hunker down, buckle down, and go out and take care of business. They have a chance to avenge one of their few regular season losses. It was the game where they got screwed by the face mask uncalled on Sam Darnold. Not that they would have driven down the field and tied the game, but regardless, it felt incomplete, and it felt like they were flat that night. And that was the first game that the Rams had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. That was when they started to get healthy. They'd been 1-4. They won their first game out of the bye, and then short week they beat the Vikings. Vikings get 8 days, not 4 days, to turn this one around. I think they take care of business. I think that the fact that their season was 14-3, you can't go in and shit the bed in the wild card round and feel good about the season. I think they take it wherever it's played. 30-24 is my final score. Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell has full week to settle him down. That's the key, and I think O'Connell can do it. because we saw him have the yips on Sunday night. I think he won't have the yips against the Rams. I think the Vikings will pull it off.
Yeah, he did have the yips. He did mentally speed things up. Watching back that film the other day, yeah, he missed some opportunities, certainly. Got off receivers that were going to be open too quickly. It was not his best game. In fact, it was his worst game in a long, long time. But I do believe Minnesota's a better football team. I do. And I worry about the Rams and the offensive side of the ball a little bit. Minnesota's defense is good. I mean, it's good. And their pass defenses continue to get better and better. And you played really good defense the other night until, late third quarter, fourth quarter, where finally Ben Johnson and one of the most elite balanced offenses in football kind of found their way. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball on you like Jahmyr Gibbs or Detroit did. And there's not as many weapons to worry about in the pass game with the Rams. Right now, it's Puka or nothing. Who else can jump up and jump out? Cooper Kupp's been few and far between. And they're at their best when Cooper Kupp is involved a little bit and Tutu Atwell makes a play or two to help them out. I'm going Vikings too, Mike. I think they're the better team. I think they will be motivated. I'm not going to let the 31-9, not really 31-9 victory dissuade me from this. I think that's the word. And I got to remember that they won 9 games in a row before this. I'm going Vikings 27-24.
We agree on all 6 games.
I know,
you disagreements against the spread. I'm sorry, but I mean that. I
pick Washington. You're supposed to pick Washington. You wanted to do it.
I thought about it. I didn't, but I didn't not do it because I'm trying to keep my lead. I didn't do the Jason Garrett. I'm picking the Vikings instead of the Lions to ensure that he stays 1 game ahead of me.
Right.
I did it because I think the Bucs are going to win.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. Best bets and Folsom Prison Blues for the super, not super wild card round next on PFTPM and Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Chris Simms Unbuttoned, PFTPM, Joint Mega Picks podcast. Best bets for Wild Card Weekend. We're doing 2, not 3. 2. Give me one.
I'm going Ravens, first one. I think the Ravens are going to handle the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers are kind of a beaten-down puppy, and the Ravens are going in the opposite direction on a mission right now. I got them winning 35-20, covering the spread. I'm taking the Ravens.
I'm taking the other Harbaugh, Jim, not John, to cover the 3-point spread. I don't think 3 points is enough. I think the Chargers will handle things, even though, the Texans, underdogs, won last year. These aren't the Browns with Joe Flacco throwing 3 interceptions. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert's going to protect the ball. They're going to run the ball. I think the Chargers win by more than 3.
All right, I'm going Bills is my next one. I think this game will be fun for a little while. I think Sean Payton and Bo Nix will make some plays early on in the football game, but as the game goes on, they'll be few and far between, and they won't be able to keep pace with Josh Allen and company. I'm going to take them. I got them covering the spread by, 38-20 by a lot.
I'll take the Eagles to cover the spread. Even though I picked the score 28-23, I was trying to be respectful to the Packers. I think the Eagles will win, and I think they will cover the spread. So at least we have 2 different best bets each. Give me your Folsom Prison Blues, the one team to win straight up. If you're dying in a gutter, who is it this week?
Ravens.
You said earlier they're going to whoop that ass. Then you said handled. I think
Ravens. I'm going to whoop your ass when I see you Sunday.
I'll take the Ravens as well.
Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. It's playoff time, baby.
So make sure to smash that subscribe button, as they say. We got game recaps coming up. We got all of our Super Bowl 59 coverage from Radio Row. You will be in New Orleans yourself.
And you're going to be there at some point, too, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies.